Altered Item 72-PE, the Wolff Globe. This altered item was discovered over the course of an external investigation into paracriminal activity. The FBC has never been the only party interested in altered phenomenon. Some are organized groups who came together to form a goal, such as the aforementioned Blessed Organization. Others are more small-time. The history of AI-72 is connected to an investment banker named David Wolff. He was a former employee of Bay Street Capital Holdings. While the details of what sparked the investigation into his dealings are currently unclear, he apparently was involved in the black market trafficking, sale, and distribution of altered materials, the specifics of which are also unclear at this time. If the formal investigations report, labeled 13-HQ-37, can be uncovered, an update can be provided on this matter. However, at this time, what we do know is that the Bureau performed a raid on Mr. Wolff's penthouse suite located in Toronto, Canada. Field agents uncovered various paranatural items, some of which was redacted for unknown reasons. Another is the subject of this report, the Wolff Globe, named after its most recent owner. At that time, Mr. Wolff was arrested and all contraband taken by Bureau staff. No further details are given as to what occurred with the suspect after apprehension. In a local newspaper, the Toronto Daily, law enforcement opened a missing person investigation. Apparently, the Bureau did not deem it necessary to have the communications department come up with a cover story officially. Instead, they used the host of America Overnight to create a false story about Wolff abandoning his life to join the Illuminati. The journalists at the Toronto Daily did not believe this conspiracy theory. Instead, they asserted that Wolff got tired of his life as a wealthy investment banker, left his professional model wife, and faked his death to retire on a beach paradise. Either way, no reports of David Wolff's activities was ever uncovered after this point, begging the question, what did the FBC do to him? As to the item itself, this is an odd one. According to the containment document, there is no specific containment requirements as this item only activates upon physical touch. Quote, physical contact renders subjects dizzy and disoriented, with some reporting a feeling of unfamiliarity with their surroundings. This effect seems to grow worse with prolonged contact, culminating in a sense of listlessness and depression. Suicide has been observed in handlers. End quote. Physically, the altered item is simply a handmade globe set in a stained wood frame, allowing the sphere to move in all directions. However, there are various irregularities in its design. There are multiple geographic additions that are missing from current maps of the Earth. One specifically is a non-existent island named Tan Relio. The author of the report also notes that there is no signature left by the maker. As to the origin of Tan Relio, there are a few possibilities that I will record from least likely to most likely. Hypothesis A. This is a simple anagram left by the Wolff Globe's crater, with 8 letters. It could be either relation or oriental. Hypothesis B. The map could be outdated, showing landmasses that once existed on Earth but no longer do. Records of maps from the antediluvian period show the missing continent of Atlantis nestled in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. If this is the case, then Tan Relio and the other geographic changes no longer exist. However, the age of this globe suggests it is not old enough for that, unless the maker has records that no longer exist. Hypothesis C. This one originally was not to be included in this report. However, during the last mail drop, which normally brings my requested research records, something else was stuck to the inside of the tube. A photo showing a screenshot from some message board. It mentions the island of Tan Relio by name. It appears others, somewhere, are working on the same problem. The mysterious message asserts that the presence of a location on a map that doesn't really exist may be what the cartographers call a paper town. Upon further research, this goes by another name, a phantom settlement. Apparently, map makers used to frequently include details on a map that did not line up with reality. Sometimes it was cities named after themselves or geological features that were false. It was done as a method of copyright protection. Since only they knew the changes made to the map, it would be immediately obvious if a fraudulent copy was made and distributed without their consent. In some cases, the same tactic was used in dictionaries and encyclopedias, publishing false information and words as a way to mark their own work in unique ways. If this is the case, the cartographers who made the Wolff Globe could have included the island of Tanrelio as a phantom settlement to mark it as theirs. A fictitious location designed solely to act as a signature from the creator to prevent theft, in which case its presence is meaningless to the mystery. Maybe. Supposition. While it is easy to write this off as a simple quirk of the globe, we are talking about an altered item, specifically one that makes a person feel unfamiliar with their surroundings. Why is this the case? While this is pure speculation, I can think of an interesting angle that will make sense to those who deal in fiction. It seems to me that the globe was not always altered. This was first made, then it was changed. The island of Tanrelio originally being a work of fiction by the creator, a phantom settlement. However, after altered materials that Mr. Wolff was trafficking came into contact with the globe, that is when this item took on a new life. Would the paranatural forces that latched onto AI-72 have recognized the difference between a phantom settlement and a real location, believing that this fake version of the Earth was real, that this lost island was real? Could it have created a version of reality where this was in fact the case? As a result, when a person touches the globe, they get the feeling of being, quote, unfamiliar with their surroundings, as if they were not in the same place despite being in the same place. As if the touching of the globe phased the individual between the real version of Earth and the fake version of Earth that this map maker created. A world where Tanrelio isn't a false landmark, but real. Stuck in an overlap between the two versions of reality. There are too many questions here, and any form of experimentation to confirm this appears to end in suicide. The rest of this is not known. However, testing it is not advised for safety reasons. Currently, AI-72 is being held in containment with no issues. This is lucky because, frankly, I fear to think what use the Hiss could make of the globe if it were to ever escape. Possibly shift reality between states of being simply by lying on the globe's surface. Until additional information on the investigation into David Wolff is received, this concludes my report on AI-72, the Wolff Globe. Rumination. If one can envision a world, they can create the world. A fiction in one's head is the first step into manifesting it. The lie of Tanrelio possibly becoming real only because the paranatural forces didn't recognize it was fiction. But does it really require such steps to accomplish? What about envisioning a different version of oneself? Believing the fiction and taking little steps to make it real. Until it does. Rather than believe that my current experience is all there ever. It couldn't hurt. Small changes, huh?